Hey guys, today I've got 2 orders for my horizontal sheath, so I'm going to be making some belt loops for that. So I'm going to show you the process of how to make the belt loops. It's very similar to, say, your gun holster. You can see it there. Just the Kydex belt loop that I use. I'll show you the steps to making that. So, and then there'll be kind of a modified version. They'll be going on these. I make a longer strap that comes over the front. So, let's get to that. I'll kind of show you step by step here as I do them. And then, like I said, it'll be a little different than your standard gun holster, but it'll be basically the same thing, except the gun holster would be cut off a little shorter. So we'll go over to the bandsaw and I'll show you again step by step. So, alright, here's a pretty simple step here. I've just got a guide clamped down to my bandsaw. I'm just making, these are 5/8 inch strips. So go ahead and make another, I need a couple more of them. Pretty simple. Again, the bandsaw makes short order of most of this stuff. Cuts a nice straight line. Move to the next step. Anytime you cut these with the bandsaw, you have all that excess on there. So I've got the back of one of my knives flattened for fire steel. Works perfect for this. Just scrape it off. So there we go. We'll go do that to all of them, and then we'll move to the next step. Alright guys, I just deburred these for the most part. The bandsaw does a nice enough job where you don't need to sand it, but occasionally you get one where it's a little rough. This one's rougher, so I'll just take that over to my belt sander and just touch up the edge. Alright, then that fixes it, then we'll have to go again and deburr it. But still, I have to show you that if it is a rougher edge, you'll have to sand it to get all the knife marks out of it from the saw blade. If you go slow enough, it typically isn't a problem. The buffer will take the rest of it out. So we'll move to that next. Alright, the next step, before I do any bending on this, I'll buff it. I'll get all the edges buffed, and then once it's bent, it's done for the most part. You don't have to worry about trying to buff around a 90-degree angle or anything. Again, on my buffing wheel, I've got 3 different sizes here. This is a double wheel over here. It's a kind of medium and soft. The medium works really well. There's no buffing compound on this one. This one is kind of a soft, but it's a tight nap, if you want to call it that. Let's see, on this one, the stitching comes really close to the top. That's my finishing wheel. And with that one, I'll use a white buffing compound. That's what I've been using. And that works really well. So we'll hit that up first. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knock down each edge over here, and then I'll move it over to the finished side. And that gives a nice shine, nice finished edge to it. Alright, it's a nice, my camera's not going to show it, I don't think, but it gives a nice rounded, nice smooth finish edge. Something to note with the buffer, excuse me, the buffer will melt down. I mean, if you hold it, say I hold it here too long, you will get it will melt into the side of it, so you got to kind of keep it consistent and smooth. and then just check it, because it will burn off or take off material. It does get pretty hot on the Kydex. So just kind of check your edges and do it as it needs it. But alright, we'll go to the next step for bending it. Alright, I got them all prepped here, so I'll go ahead and start bending some of them. Again, for when I'm using the heat, I just use a Wells Lamont, just a leather glove. Works really well. You really don't feel a whole lot of heat transfer through them. Again, while I'm heating, I'll just keep slowly moving it. Doesn't take much on these little straps. Once it's heated, let's put in my mold here. And I've got little marks all over this thing, so I know where to bend it. And you just hold till it's cooled down, and then move to the next one. I'll do a couple of these and show you. This is one I need to get my quick clamp set up on. Haven't gotten that far yet with these. You can see it holds already. Get some better lighting here. See a nice 90-degree bend, nice and clean, all buffed. I'll let that cool all the way, and we'll start on the next one. When I do these, I'll just do several at a time, do a couple extra sets. Slide it in there, bend it over. Right to my mark. And just hold it till it cools. They go pretty fast once you get going, so. Alright, well, I've got 3 more of these to do, so I'll get those done, and then I'll turn the camera back on when I go to do the second bend. Show you how I do that. Alright, there we got them all done. See them all stacked there, all pretty uniform. And then we'll move to the next step here. What I'll do with this is actually set them in the jig here. And I've got marks here, different sizes, up to 2 inch. So I'll just place that where I need it. And then I can heat it up and bend it over. Works out really well. Keeps everything nice and square and consistent. Again, just hold till it cools and take her out. You get a nice square belt loop. And again, I leave the tail on here because on my horizontals, for example, the belt loop will be here. I'll have to heat this again and wrap it around the front side, and then bolt it all together here. If this were a gun loop for a gun holster, I'd just snip it off, drill the holes, finish the ends. You'd end up with something. This black is not showing up. Something like that. So, alright, we'll do a couple more of these. Again, just place it in the jig. And again, just hold till it cools. It doesn't take long. If you don't heat it up super hot, just enough to bend and get good 90-degree corners, that's all you really need. That way you're not sitting here holding it while it cools that much longer. Alright, that's number 2. Nice uniform. Both line up nice. Pretty much the same. I'll do the rest of them and then get back with you on how to bend them around here. Alright guys, there we get nice consistent loops. Just by using the jig we get nice 90-degree bends, good definition. Just a nice looking product when you get done with them. You know, having the jig, having everything squared up nice. So I may be redoing this jig at some point. I've been thinking about it. I just started using one of these clamps for my fire steels, and after doing a couple of these, it wouldn't be bad to have a bigger board and have a couple of these just to clamp it down so you're not sitting there holding it. But these have been a really nice addition for doing fire steels. Gives a really nice mold out of it. So actually I've got to do 2 of those, so I might even show you those on here. So yeah, let's do that. I'll do a couple fire steels and then we'll go to putting it onto the sheath itself. So alright, again we've got our pre-cut piece, buffed edges already, so we don't have to do it afterwards. The reason I do that, again, it's just prep work. It's hard to buff once they're pre-bent, you know, trying to get that buffed around there without it really melting the plastic. So we'll get this heated up and then we'll show you how it goes in here. It's heated up pretty good. Let's take my fire steel, roll it into it. Make sure it's snug up against my vise, everything's square, edges line up. Let's take my little clamp, push it down. Holds it in nice, gets a nice square edge along the back here. And as soon as it's done, we'll take it out and show you what it looks like. Very handy addition to the shop. I'll have to pick some more of these up next time I'm in town. Alright guys, getting back to the fire steel loop here. Again, we just pressed it in with our quick clamp. Let's take it off. You can see it's nice and square there. Good straight line for running against your fire steel, or against your sheath. So, it works out really nice. edges are buffed already, so it's pretty much done. I'll just have to drill the holes and fit it and cut off the excess. Alright, now we're going to show you how I heat it up anyway. This is going to be the back strap here, the belt loop. So we want to bend this over the top and get good definition down the blade here and line up the holes. I used to wrap these with a wet towel and everything to keep them from getting too hot, but lately I've just been holding my hand where it covers it, and it works really well. I'm going to slowly heat it up. And it doesn't have to be heated up too much, but it's kind of going to work fairly fast. Line everything up. Get a good bend all the way around. Sorry if I'm not in frame there. Just get everything in place and pinch and hold. Not the fanciest method, but it works, and after you've done quite a few of these, so you get a feel for the best spot to do them. Well, there you go. It wraps around the top there. A good belt holds the belt loop that still holds the 90 there. So let that cool and do the next one. Alright, we'll do this last one here and just again show you how I do that. I just pinch my fingers around it so it doesn't get heat down on the 90-degree belt loop there. So I can heat it from the back side here, and then I'll come and heat it here. It doesn't have to be heated up a whole lot, just enough to bend it and get enough flex to fit the contours of your sheath. Again, when I do this, I'm going to line up my rivet hole. Line everything up, pinch her down nice and tight. Alright, that's about it. Alright, the next step on these is just marking the holes. Just carefully line everything up, and we'll take over a drill press and drill them out. Alright, and again, so I don't drill straight through and wreck the other side, because they don't always line up exactly the same. They should, but sometimes you gotta pull one or the other. So I'll just drill one at a time, put a piece of block in between. Alright, got our holes drilled.